We've never tried to go for this big of a season. We've never gone through this much ground that we're supposed to go through this year. So Parker just really wants seamless sluicing through and through.
The air over the Klondike is thick with dust, diesel, and something no camera can show: pressure. Gold prices sit near record highs, and one good season can change a life, while one bad one can destroy an entire mining empire. In the middle of this storm, two names stand out. On one side is Parker Schnabel, pushing for the biggest gold total of a career built on risk. On the other side is Tony Beets, the longtime king of the Klondike, trying to pull a wounded family business back from the edge. The most important part of this story is not just how much gold either one pulls out of the ground. The most important part is a quiet move that connects both empires and threatens to change the balance of power in the Klondike. That move is not a flashy new wash plant or some giant new claim. It is a single piece of steel that travels from one yard to another and turns into a lifeline, a message, and a weapon, all at the same time. Before that moment arrives, the stage has to be set. Parker steps into this season with a target that sounds almost impossible: 10,000 ounces of gold from his Dominion Creek claim. At today's prices, that much gold is worth more than $25 million. That number is not random. It comes from what happened there the year before, when Dominion Creek produced a huge 4,500 ounce haul. That result convinced Parker that the rich pay streak running through that ground is not finished yet. The belief is that it keeps going north into one long strip of exposed pay dirt known as the Long Cut. If that area holds up, the 10,000 ounce dream might not be a fantasy. But the math behind that dream is brutal. The crew has to average more than 430 ounces every week for about half a year. 6 months of intense work with almost no space for breakdowns, slow days, or big mistakes. Every hour of sluicing matters. Every hour of downtime drags the numbers in the wrong direction. While this plays out, Tony is facing a different kind of pressure. The Beets family's last season was a disaster, ending roughly 3,000 ounces short and leaving the business $6 to $7 million in the hole. Machines, money, and relationships all took damage. For Tony, this new season is not just another year. It is a rescue mission. The goal is 5,000 ounces from ground he trusts on the Indian River, enough to start patching up the mess and prove that the Beets operation is still a serious force. The drama between these two miners has been building for years, but this time the story will not be decided only by cut totals and cleanup numbers. Hidden behind the roar of wash plants, one quiet decision will connect Parker to Tony's oldest son in a way that no one in the valley expects, and that connection could hit Tony's empire where it hurts most, inside the family itself. The huge goal on Dominion Creek demands a fast start, and the plan at the beginning of the season looks simple. Parker wants a quick win that will put gold in the jar early and get the crew believing in the 10,000 ounce target. The idea is to fire up Big Red, the trusted wash plant that has been part of many past victories, and use it to rewash old tailings left behind by the previous owner of the claim. Those piles of leftover gravel are not fresh pay dirt, but they should still hold missed gold from earlier seasons. With gold prices so high, even a thin layer of leftover gold could turn into a decent early cleanup. Big Red is moved into position piece by piece. Conveyors are aligned, hoses are connected, and the feeder is placed. All of this setup work happens with no gold yet coming out of the ground, but the crew knows it is necessary. Parker wants seamless sluicing once the real season starts. That means getting problems out of the way early, not later, when every hour counts toward that massive weekly average. The first bucket of pay dirt finally drops into the hopper, and Big Red begins to run. Belts move. Water roars down the sluice boxes. Dark, wet gravel slides across the riffles. For 34 hours, the plant chews through those old tailings. The crew watches for signs of good gold on the mats and tries to keep machines running without any failures. Everyone understands that this first cleanup will set the tone for the rest of the season. If the result is strong, confidence will spike. If it is weak, the target will suddenly feel even further away. When the run ends and the plant shuts down, the valley becomes briefly quiet. Concentrates are collected and carried for weighing. The scale is prepared, and the gold from the first run is carefully separated. Months of planning and spending now focus on a single number. The result is a shock. The total comes out to only 5.6 ounces of gold, worth around $14,000. For a small-scale operation, that might be acceptable. For a crew trying to hit 10,000 ounces in 6 months, it is a disaster. The trusted wash plant that was supposed to deliver a quick early win has instead produced the worst first cleanup the crew has ever seen. Fuel, time, and labor have all been burned on a result that barely makes a mark on the massive target. The mood drops instantly. The crew knows the weekly average they must hit. Now, instead of being on pace, the team is starting from behind. The weight on every worker grows heavier. It is not just a bad cleanup. It is a warning that the season might not care about previous success or best-laid plans. While Parker and the crew struggle to understand how to recover from such a poor opening move, another mining camp not far away is about to send a very different message to the rest of the Klondike. The message that the king is not ready to step aside yet.
On a different claim, the Beets operation is facing its own make-or-break season, but with a much different starting point. After falling thousands of ounces short of the previous goal and sliding millions of dollars into debt, the Beets family cannot afford another weak year. The business has taken hard hits, and the family relationships behind it have strained under the weight of constant stress. To turn things around, Tony targets the Indian River claim, a piece of ground known for steady gold. The goal here is 5,000 ounces, a number that will not erase every problem, but can begin to repair the financial damage and rebuild confidence in the Beets name. The key move for this comeback season began long before thaw. At the end of the last year, Tony made a bold decision on a 10-acre area that became known as the comeback cut. Instead of leaving it dry, he deliberately flooded the ground with water. When the Yukon winter locked everything in ice, that water froze into a thick 2-foot-deep layer. The plan behind this strange choice is clever. The ice acts like a cap, holding in heat from the ground below and slowing the deep freeze. If it works, the pay dirt under the ice will remain soft enough to mine much earlier than ground elsewhere, allowing the Beets operation to get a head start on the season. If it fails, the result will be a frozen block that could leave the entire cut unusable for weeks. As spring arrives, the time comes to test the gamble. A huge dozer rolls into the comeback cut, shoving and breaking apart the ice blanket on top. The real test happens when the dozer's ripper shank drops deep into the ground below the shattered ice. If the soil is rock hard, the plan has failed. Instead, the ground gives way. The pay dirt beneath the ice is thawed and workable. The risky move from the previous fall has paid off. The comeback cut is open ahead of schedule. Almost immediately, the Indian River claim comes alive with activity. Trucks haul thawed pay dirt to the wash plants. Sluicifer powers up. A screen deck and other equipment shake and sort material as water pours through the sluice boxes. The goal is simple: keep the plants fed and running for as many hours as possible, turning that early advantage into real gold. Tony pushes hard, knowing that every ounce counted this year is one step away from last season's disaster. After a full week of running, the first cleanup from the comeback cut is ready. The Beets family gathers to see the result, although one important family member, Kevin, is not there. The gold collected during the run is melted, shaped, and placed on the scale. The number climbs and climbs until it stops at 312.6 ounces. At about $2,500 per ounce, that total means the first week's run is worth more than $750,000. It is the biggest first cleanup the Beets family has ever produced. The frozen gamble strategy has turned the pain of last season into power for this one. The machines are making money again, and the longtime king of the Klondike shows that experience and risk can still deliver huge results. Yet even in this moment of victory, the empty space where Kevin would normally stand says something important. The business might be bouncing back, but the family is still divided. Just over the hills, on a different piece of ground, that missing member of the Beets clan is working on a mine of his own, carrying the family name into a new project that will pull another major player into the story.
Not far from Indian River, on the 44-acre Scribner Creek claim, the oldest Beets' son is building something that looks very different from the operation he grew up in. Kevin Beets is no longer just part of his father's crew. On this ground, he is the boss. The claim is leased from Tony, but the mining project belongs to Kevin and his partner, Faith. Their plan is clear: start a new mine from the ground up, aim for 1,000 ounces of gold, and prove that a Beets can run a tight, efficient operation without the old family chaos. The pressure here is more
personal than ever. Every success and every failure at Scribner Creek lands directly on Kevin's shoulders. Starting from zero means there is no luxury of brand new equipment. The Scribner Creek operation has to rely on used machines, many of them borrowed from the Beets family fleet. On paper, this looks like support from Tony. The reality turns out to be much more complicated. A mine cannot function without the right tools, and a crucial piece of that toolkit arrives in the form of a massive D10 dozer. This machine is supposed to be the workhorse of the site, responsible for ripping open the frozen muck and exposing the pay layer in an 11-acre area known as the Lynx Cut. Without deep ripping, the pay dirt remains locked under tough ground, and the entire mining plan stalls. At first glance, the arrival of the D10 seems like a big win for the new operation. However, once Kevin and the crew inspected closely, a serious problem appears. The 10-foot steel ripper shank that should hang off the back of the dozer is missing. That ripper is the tool that allows the machine to tear into frozen ground. Without it, the dozer can push piles around but cannot open the cut to reach the pay. The D10, the machine that should be the heart of the mining plan, is basically half-equipped. The Lynx Cut depends on that ripper. Without it, every schedule and every plan falls apart. This situation turns the idea of help from Tony into a serious question. The mine has received a powerful machine, but not the part that actually lets it do the main job. Whether the missing ripper shank is a simple mistake or a hidden way of keeping control is not clear. What is clear is the effect on Scribner Creek. The new mine is stuck. No ripping means no stripped ground. No stripped ground means no pay dirt. No pay dirt means no gold. Every day that passes without a fix puts more stress on the new operation's budget and momentum. Thankfully for Kevin, the new mine does not stand alone. To boost the chances of success, he has brought in a highly skilled operator from outside the family. Working with him is Brennan Rout, a master dirt mover with years of experience in the Klondike. Brennan spent 6 seasons as a foreman on Parker Schnabel's crew at the start of his mining career. The partnership between Brennan and Parker ended on rough terms, but the knowledge Brennan gained is still valuable. Brennan knows the area and the style of mining used in big operations. There's an interesting detail in the location, too. The Scribner Creek claim sits just past a group of trees from the ground where Brennan first started working for Parker. The land itself holds memories of that earlier chapter of his life. Even with that experience on site, the mine remains frozen in place without the ripper shank. The missing piece turns into a crisis. Instead of returning to Tony and asking again for help, Kevin and Brennan decide to look for a solution in a direction that will change the entire shape of the story. Their next move sends them straight toward the person Tony least expects to see involved in his son's future, his longtime rival on Dominion Creek.
The trip to Dominion Creek is more than a simple parts run. It is a collision of history, rivalry, and new ambition. As the truck rolls toward Parker's yard, the situation inside it is tense. Brennan's past with Parker includes 6 hard seasons of working side by side, ending in a rough split that left both men frustrated. Returning to that yard now is not an easy step. Kevin's experience with Parker is mostly secondhand, built from seeing strained visits between Parker and Tony at the Beets camp. The idea of asking for help from someone so closely tied to an old rival adds another layer of tension to the drive. Despite all of this, the problem at Scribner Creek leaves little choice. The D10 cannot do its job without a ripper shank, and the Lynx Cut cannot open without the D10. The mine is stuck until that chain is broken. Turning to Parker creates risk, but it also offers the only realistic path forward. When the truck arrives at Dominion Creek, the outcome many might expect does not happen. There is no shouting match or instant rejection. Instead, there is recognition of shared history and hard work. Years of mining in the same tough region have built a strange mix of rivalry and respect between the crews that work there. The problem from Scribner Creek is laid out in plain terms. A dozer has shown up without the ripper shank, and the new mine cannot move forward until that missing part is replaced. Parker focuses on one key detail before deciding how to respond. The question is whether Tony Beets has a controlling hand in this new project beyond simply lending equipment. Once it becomes clear that the Scribner Creek mine is truly Kevin and Faith's operation, not just another extension of the Beets empire, the path forward becomes much easier to see. Parker knows from experience how hard it is to start a mine from nothing, especially with big goals and limited resources. Instead of turning away, he chooses to step in. The Dominion Creek Yard provides exactly what the Scribner Creek operation needs: a heavy ripper shank worth around $11,000. The part is supplied on a tab, not with a demand for immediate payment. With that single choice, Parker removes the roadblock holding Kevin's season in place. The D10 can now rip into the lynx cut, the pay layer can be exposed, and the new mine can finally begin producing gold. On the surface, this looks like simple, practical help from one miner to another. Underneath, the move carries far more meaning. By providing the part that Tony's equipment did not include, Parker does more than fix a mechanical problem. This decision cuts into Tony's ability to control Kevin's operation through the machines he provides. The new mine, which once had to look back toward Tony for answers, now has a direct link to Parker instead. In quiet fashion, the balance of power in the family shifts a little. Kevin leaves Dominion Creek with a ripper shank chained down and a real chance to prove that his own mine can stand on its own legs. Brennan returns to ground near where his career began, now working for a different boss and backed by a different kind of support. Parker walks away from the exchange with something less visible, but just as important: the knowledge that Tony's oldest son has received the help that Tony did not manage to provide. In a valley where reputation and control matter almost as much as ounces, that message speaks loudly, even if no one says it out loud. While these modern gold empires trade quiet blows and build unexpected alliances, another long-running treasure hunt, thousands of miles away, is closing in on something buried far deeper in time than any Yukon pay streak.
Along the coast of Nova Scotia, far from the roar of wash plants and dozers, another treasure story is moving toward a turning point. On Oak Island, brothers Rick and Marty Lagina have spent years and millions of dollars chasing the truth behind a mystery that stretches back more than 220 years. Instead of icy pay dirt and heavy machinery, their world is filled with legends of hidden vaults, traps, and secrets left behind by people whose identities are still debated. For a long time, much of the focus on Oak Island has centered on the Money Pit, a deep shaft where early searchers found layers of wooden platforms before flooding stopped their progress, and on a nearby area called the Garden Shaft. But recent work has shifted attention to a different place on the island that once seemed quiet and unimportant: the swamp. The calm surface of that swamp hides something very strange beneath it. Advanced ground-penetrating radar surveys have revealed a large, dense, L-shaped anomaly buried deep under the mud and water. The shape is too clean and sharp to match natural rock formations in the area. Nothing about it lines up with the known geology of the island. That points strongly toward a man-made structure, carefully built and then hidden under the swamp. Once this target is found, the search changes direction. Instead of relying only on old stories and scattered finds, the team has a clear physical object to investigate. Drilling and coring begin across the anomaly. Samples are pulled from deep underground and brought to the surface. Among these samples are pieces of wood that do not match the local trees. Testing and carbon dating place the age of this wood in the middle of the 17th century. That timeline is more than 100 years older than the first documented discovery of the Money Pit in 1795. The evidence suggests that someone was working on Oak Island in a serious and organized way long before modern treasure hunters arrived. Local legends that once sounded like wild tales now have solid backing. Stories have long described a hidden vault connected to the Mi'kmaq people, or a secret refuge built by people fleeing danger in Europe. Whether the truth matches these stories or leads somewhere else entirely, the structure under the swamp clearly comes from human planning, not random geology. To see more, the team sinks a large steel caisson into the swamp and sends a remote-operated vehicle, equipped with cameras, down into the darkness. The images that return from the deep are striking. In the murky water, smooth stone blocks can be seen forming a clean corner. The surfaces look cut and dressed, not rough and random like natural rock. The shape matches exactly what would be expected from a deliberately constructed wall. At one point, the camera picks up a flash of metal and the outline of what appears to be the corner of a dark rectangular object resting near that stone corner. The combination of radar data, wood samples, dates, and video images points strongly toward one conclusion. There is a large, man-made structure hidden under the Oak Island swamp, built centuries ago and carefully sealed away. For treasure hunters around the world, this is not just another clue. It is the kind of evidence that many have been waiting to see for generations. The question that matters most is no longer whether anything real lies beneath the island. The new question is what exactly waits inside that hidden space, and what story will come out when it is finally opened. While this centuries-old mystery edges closer to an answer, the struggle in the Yukon continues, proving that the drive to dig for hidden value, whether in gold or in history, never really changes.
The Klondike and Oak Island might seem like two completely different worlds, but the stories unfolding in both places are driven by the same forces: risk, control, and the hope that something valuable is waiting just out of sight. In the Yukon, Parker Schnabel still has to claw back from a terrible first cleanup and keep pushing toward the 10,000-ounce dream that hangs over every day of work at Dominion Creek. 1 week run does not decide a season, but it does raise the stakes for every week that follows. Each cleanup must help close the gap between reality and the fantasy-sized target that was set at the start. At Indian River, Tony Beets has successfully turned last year's pain into this year's strength, using the flooded and frozen comeback cut to jump ahead of the pack and deliver the biggest first cleanup his family has ever seen. The machines are earning again, and the empire that many might have seen as wounded now looks dangerous once more. Even so, the empty space where Kevin should stand at that gold table acts as a reminder that there is more at risk than ounces and dollars. At Scribner Creek, Kevin is walking a tightrope between legacy and independence. The new mine carries the Beets name into a fresh chapter, but it does so on different terms. The missing Ripper Shank turned into a moment where the old lines of control were exposed. By turning to Parker for help and receiving the crucial piece of steel that Tony did not provide, the new operation quietly shifted its center of gravity. Parker's decision to supply that $11,000 Ripper on a tab did more than restart a stalled season. It undermined Tony's ability to steer his son's future through equipment and parts. It also showed that in the modern Klondike, rivalry does not always mean refusal. Sometimes the strongest power move is an act of support offered at just the right time. On Oak Island, the discovery of a buried L-shaped structure, non-local wood dated to the 17th century, and clear evidence of cut stone under the swamp moves a centuries-old mystery into a new phase. The search there is no longer just about rumors and legends. It is about a real physical structure that can eventually be explored. When that happens, whatever lies inside will not only answer questions about the island, it will also confirm that people went to great effort to hide something beneath that muddy water long before modern searchers arrived. Across both locations, one pattern becomes clear. Treasure rarely appears without a fight. In the Yukon, the fight comes in the form of broken machines, bad ground, money on the line, and relationships under stress. On Oak Island, the fight comes in the form of complex digging, advanced scanning, and patience pushed to the limit. Some risk fortunes, some risk reputations, some risk families, but the drive to uncover what is hidden keeps pulling miners and treasure hunters forward. In the seasons ahead, Parker's crew will either prove that the 10,000-ounce dream was possible or give the Klondike another story about ambition going too far. Tony's operation will either complete its comeback or stumble again under the weight of past mistakes. Kevin's mine will either rise as a stable, independent project or become another warning about how hard it is to build something new in such a tough industry. The Oak Island team will either open a chamber that changes the way the world thinks about that small island, or learn that even the best evidence can still lead to new questions. One thing is certain: as long as these stories continue, new twists and rivalries, alliances, and discoveries will keep appearing. Subscribing to Gold Era 2.0 helps keep this style of deep, connected storytelling going, bringing more long-form breakdowns of gold rush seasons, family empires, and hidden treasure for anyone who wants to follow every turn in these ongoing hunts.